The Yankees win. How about that? That feels good to say. It feels like it's been a minute, but when Devin Williams, went on the hill, I felt really good about their chances. Before this game, I felt good about them keeping it close. It was definitely a different game. You normally don't get the best out of Zach Wheeler like that, but anytime you do, you got to take advantage. And while the Yankees did leave guys on base and they didn't come through in every aspect, they did enough. Shout out to, he already had a nickname before the game started, Ryan McStrikeout. Well, Ryan McMahon came through today. Okay,
so the defense looked good.
He earned his pinstripes, at least for the time being. He's got to keep this up, but he's off to a good start in the field. You see that. But we're going to be talking about the game. We definitely want to talk about the deadline because the deadline is, it's coming very soon. As a matter of fact, 31st is Thursday. So
you think it was the 31st already with the way people are, and mind you.
Oh, my God.
Totally
exactly.
Understand. It was something that you were just bringing up. And we understand the frustration. You bring in Ryan McMahon. Seems a little underwhelming. Technically, the way the Yankees look at it is we needed somebody that is a clear upgrade. Regardless of what we did to get him, what it costs us financially, Ryan McMahon is objectively a superior player to Peraza. He just is. And our biggest problem was the glove, and that's something that he does well. And you saw it today. He was on full display. He's jumping and catching the ball. He's going to his right, making strong throws. We're no longer talking about weak throws or inaccurate throws from third base. That's no longer an issue. So that was good. And then, of course, the bonus is if Ryan McMahon can hit a lick, which so far in his career he's been underwhelming. Some of it, I know that the Yankees sort of look at Colorado. They looked at DJ LeMahieu. They look at Ryan McMahon. And they say, well, it's actually somewhat of a disadvantage playing for the Rockies. Most of the people that watch baseball see it as if you play in Colorado, you should be hitting 350, and then we assume those numbers will be less when you leave, just simply based on the home road splits. And Ryan McMahon had very bad home road splits. They were not good. He was hitting actually under 180 on the road. But then the Yankees tend to believe that the elevation is such a disadvantage. When you take the player out of that, they'll just be better. And we've done this now twice, and Ryan McMahon came through today. He's in large part the reason we won today's game. So you have to give him credit. You have to cover that, and we are. And having said that, we've still got about 4 days left, Jake. We've got a lot of ball game left. And as Jim Bowden has said many times, he's been on our show twice now, the deadline and trades and texts and what's going on here or there, it goes till the wee hours of the morning. There is a lot of ball game left. So am I telling you guys to be hopeful that we're going to make Monster Splash? No. But what I'm telling you is if there's going to be one, we've got quite some time for that to happen.
It's true. And what is it they call it? An eternity between now and the deadline? I mean, think about it. It feels like it's coming fast for us, but it feels like everybody like that is in the know, right? The scouts and everything. They always are like, no, this is super long. Okay, this is a long, tedious process. And, we're going to see. We got some news. Seth Lugo apparently agreed to an extension with Kansas City. So, Gary, you immediately, instead of just being like, well, I guess he's out the window, you brought up an interesting point. Maybe he agreed to an extension because now he'll cost more because there's control there. He's no longer a rental. And I think it's a smart, idea. I don't know if he would necessarily agree to that. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But it is interesting, and that's what we here at Yankees Unloaded, try to do. We try to think outside the box. If everybody else is thinking this thing, we're not just thinking to be different. This is just how our brains are wired, Gary. So I totally
what about
understand
the timing?
Where you're coming from there.
The timing is interesting, right? And you're floating someone's name on the trade block. You're floating their name on the block 4 days and some change before the deadline, and all of a sudden you're like, the time that we're going to announce an extension, we're going to announce that this player is just absolutely going nowhere. Rather than just letting the deadline go past, why don't we ink that extension? And by the way, Jack Curry, and I think he's been doing a really good job of covering the trade deadline and trying to give us all the information he can. Obviously, he can't give us everything. But he's mentioned the Yankees want players with control. Everyone's been talking about Yeno Suarez, and of course, we've got a little report here about him and how much that would have cost the Yankees, and I'll read it here in a second. But we've been talking about players with control. Ryan McMahon's a player the Yankees just traded for. Now, people look at it as he's a $16 million player. Very good glove. It was on full display today. And then, of course, we got something with the bat. But more importantly, the Yankees have traded for this player. They really like him. They do. And he's going to be here for this season and 2 more after that. So the Yankees have some control there. It's going to be looked at as somewhat of a solution, at least a Band-Aid in the short and somewhat long term. And the Yankees are attracted to that type of situation. Now you look at Seth Lugo, if a player is being traded for, you perceive it being less value if it's a rental. I think that's just common sense. Yeno Suarez, same deal. Well, what if I told you have a 2 or 3 year extension tacked onto that? Suddenly that value increases and now you can get back potentially more. So I'm not going to say that Seth Lugo is no longer on there. So Sean Michael says you can't be traded after signing an extension. So if that's real information,
I just confirmed you can be traded after signing an extension. Player who has signed a contract extension can be traded during the season, even if they haven't played a game for the new team. While there are some restrictions on trading players recently drafted or signed as free agents, extensions are generally treated as a part of the contract and can be traded. Now, the big thing here is if there's a no trade clause. Okay, that's the big thing. But yes, after just signing an extension, you can be traded right after during the season, as long as it's not after the trade deadline. And yeah, you can. I'm looking right at it. You absolutely can. So unless what I'm looking at is wrong, I mean, it's on MLB.com, but
well, I mean, MLB.com, I guess, could be wrong in theory. We've seen crazier things, and we're not here to tell. We're not here to tell you guys if you're wrong or right. We're just here to tell you this is what we read on MLB.com. So there's no reason to take offense to it. But I will read this report on Yeno Suarez just for those of you who are thinking, oh, it would have cost us Spencer Jones or whatever have you. Here's a report of exactly what it would have cost. Now, Francis Romero just actually tweeted out a report just a few hours ago, and he mentioned the trade talks between the Yankees and Arizona Diamondbacks over Yeno Suarez stalled after Arizona asked for MLB-ready players or actually players on their 26-man in Major League Baseball. So you're talking about a Ben Rice, right? You're talking about a player who is currently playing on our big league team. And here's the interesting part. And an upper level prospect, AA or AAA. And there's obviously no information there as to how high up AA or AAA, as in Spencer Jones, probably just a solid name, maybe a Ben Hess or whatever have you. And at least one lower level prospect per industry sources. So they were looking for 3 players, one of which was off of our big league roster. Another was high up in our system. And then you're getting another lower level player at single A. That is insane. For a rental, ridiculous. That is absolute nonsense. And Yeno Suarez, we've covered him. He's a good player. I understand that he's not a good defensive player. He's not a fit with the Yankees. These are all facts. But having said that, to even call the Yankees and ask for this type of package, I couldn't even imagine that was the ask. Very interesting stuff.
Does that concern you for going after a Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly?
It does if that report is true. If that's the type of return they're looking for on a rental, Zach Gallen, albeit he's having a horrible year, he's still Zach Gallen. He pitched very poorly today. And you sort of look at Zach Gallen and say, all right, this player is somebody that certainly Matt Blake can fix. That's what they'll be selling. And mind you, it's not like Zach Gallen is Yankees fans' top target, but he's certainly an option out there. And you'd like to believe if we can spin a prospect at the lower end of our system simply because this is a diminishing asset as a rental, then it's an attractive situation. But given this report, if they're looking for 3 players, 2 of which are either in the big leagues or at the top, right, AAA, AA, what are they really looking for Zach Gallen? I would imagine they're looking for another overpay, and Brian Cashman just doesn't bite at that.
Yeah. You know how, I don't know if you remember, and I don't even remember the year, but every now and then it seems like there's reports, like teams are venting about how hard a certain team is to deal with. I guarantee you, if that's the case, if that's what they're asking from the Yankees, if they maintain that, it's not just like the Yankee tax, which I don't think it is. I think that's what they're asking from the Mariners and everything. If that's the case, the Diamondbacks are going to get blacklisted. Like, I don't know who's going to want to work with them. So I always kind of felt like Suarez would either end up in Chicago or Seattle. The thing about Seattle, why I think they have the inside track, is they already made a deal, and they got, I don't know how they did it, apparently, but they got Josh Naylor, and they didn't.
That's a good fit. I actually really like that trade. I like the trade for Seattle. I really like that.
I did too, and I didn't feel like they gave up a ton. So I don't know. And also keep this in mind. I do want to give at least some protection or some defense to the general manager for the Diamondbacks here. Suarez is kind of having an unprecedented. You don't normally see guys like this available at the trade deadline.
Much better than Zach Gallen. So when you ask me the question, Zach Gallen's having a horrible year.
Yeah,
and he can be traded, and he can be terrible. Savant page says it looks terrible. The numbers overall tell the story it's terrible. Now, mind you, we've talked about this player. I wouldn't hate it. Now, of course, the Yankees, they're not going to send you a top prospect for this player, for Suarez, because the Yankees' biggest need is in their bullpen. It's clear as day. We've brought on multiple reporters, and each and every one of them, the first thing out of their mouth was multiple relievers. John Morosi, we think we're going to get 2, maybe even 3, an overhaul, right? Starting pitching wasn't really a topic of conversation. So could the Yankees could they use another starting pitcher? Absolutely. But are they suddenly going to say bullpen, and then pivot at the top of the market for a Zach Gallen or whoever else? I can't see that. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume, based on this report, that the Yankees, unless that market dwindles heavily, Zach Gallen is just off the table.
No, I think that's definitely fair to say. It was interesting. Jim Bowden brought him up. They think they could fix him. The whole thing with Matt Blake, which we were talking about as well. I think if they were to get him, there's definitely a reason why you would try and get him, but you're trying to buy him low. Like, to me, Zach Gallen, as funny as it sounds, should be like a Ryan McMahon deal. You shouldn't even have to trade your top 7 prospects. The Diamondbacks should know, trading away Zach Gallen, unless the market indicates otherwise, you should be just trying to get whatever you can because he's in a contract year and you're likely not bringing him back. That's the entire goal.
You know what I see about it? Zach Gallen's having a bad year. He has long-term data to suggest that you can fix him. Yeah. Now, what I would do, here's what I would suggest. I don't think you can get a player like Zach Gallen for really nothing. So I will disagree to just at some level of what you said. All I'm trying to really say here is that if there's a team in a position where they really like their bullpen, they love their offense, right? They feel like they're just a piece or 2 away, and one of those pieces happens to be maybe a veteran arm in the middle of the rotation, right? Yeah. Maybe a 2 or a 3. Then maybe you can part with a player on the level of, say, a Rock Riggio. Now, mind you, I'm not telling you to trade Rock Riggio. What I'm telling you is if we loved our roster, you can afford to overpay to now put yourself over the hump. The Yankees aren't in that type of position. The Yankees need a splash in another area, so this is just off the table. Jimmy, thank you for the 5. Thank you for investing in Yankees Unloaded. Said, outside of Judge, we've done nothing but prove we suck at developing talent for the right controllable pieces, all in on clearing out the farm. So, Jimmy, I'm not going to sit here and chastise you because I feel like mentally I was in this exact same spot last night. I'll be honest with you. And when I sort of look at the market today, when you see how the lack of aggressiveness that the Yankees, and obviously Brian Cashman's the one who steers that boat, the lack of aggressiveness they've had over the past decade, saying no to Corey Seagers, right? Francisco Lindor becomes a free agent. Having Anthony Volpe floated out on the trade market, saying absolutely not. We can't take Luis Castillo. We want to see it through with this kid. I understand. I understand the idea. Our top prospect is supposed to be Anthony Volpe. He's supposed to be the guy who develops into a mainstay with this organization. Now, the last 7 days, he's played better baseball, but overall, the totality of his career, it's been underwhelming. And the Yankees, when you look across the field, the majority of the players were either traded for or they were signed as free agents, right? You bring in Cody Bellinger. Obviously, Aaron Judge, superhuman. We did develop him, right? Jason Dominguez, while Jason Dominguez has shown flashes, he's very poor defensively, and there's still some growing pains to go through, and we expect him to get much better. So I understand, Jimmy. We're not winning, and we want to fix something now, but at the same time, we have to understand those players that you think are out there to fix this, perhaps they're not available, and we're just going to have to wait for that next moment to strike.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand the frustration entirely. I do think when you kind of take a step back and if the Yankees had won a World Series within the last 10 years or whatever, I don't think people would be as hard. I do think there's fatigue. There's people that are grown tired to, it's 16 years now. It'll be 17 next year. 18,
we had Job
19.
We had Job on our podcast just about 3 hours ago. And mind you, to remind you guys, that show will be live tomorrow morning. We can't wait for you to see it. Job was better than a lot of you guys are expecting. He gave us some juicy
awesome.
information. He is awesome. But even Jabba mentioned, this is almost a 20-year reunion. He can't believe it. And you're sitting here talking about, can you imagine if we go 20 years without winning a World Series? That weighs heavy on an organization. So whether or not you think the Yankees are we're the big show in Major League Baseball, everyone wants to play for the Yankees. If that's something you believe, well, we've got a show we can win. We can back that up. And the Yankees so far have gone a very long time, uncomfortable amount of time, losing the ultimate goal. So I understand it, Jimmy, completely understand. I've sort of been talked off the ledge. I wasn't zapped back into position where I'm satisfied. I'll tell you that. I'm still ticked off. But the Yankees at the same time, Jake, where I'll kick it to you, there's got to be a player out there where you say, oh, that player's available. I'm willing to spend my top prospects to go get that player. And when I find out that player's available, whether it be a Paul Skeens or whatever have you, another superstar, maybe a Quan, right? And you've mentioned that player. If that happens, then maybe we open the door for that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking to Jim. And by the way, guys, after this ends, definitely go and check out the interview with Jim Bowden. He was great, gave us a lot of intel. He gave us the Zach Gallen intel that I just brought up, how the Yankees they think that they can turn him around. I mean, that you probably already saw it because it's got over 7,000 views in like 4 hours, which is crazy because you guys
our
are
audience
awesome.
Is ridiculous.
It's second to none. So, if you haven't already, definitely check it out at the end of this show. You'll definitely like that, and I'm sure we'll have clips and stuff for those of you who want that as well. And then we're gonna have the Jabba interview tomorrow. But I think really what it comes down to is, and this is kind of me like taking a step back and realizing, if you didn't have that, the whole drought, right, the World Series drought, I think people would appreciate the Austin Wells of the world more. I think people would appreciate. I mean, Anthony Volpe's been a bust, like no doubt about it. But I think they'd appreciate Dominguez more. I think they would appreciate, these kind of homegrown guys a little bit more. But I understand why people don't. I understand why people are like, you know what? At this point, I just want to win. Like, it'd be nice to have the true Yankees and the guys that are, essentially the Monument Park type of guys.
You can say you have your own little core four. Now, mind you, the core four was super cool because everyone's like, oh, I got to see the very beginning of that. But when you go 20 years, do you care if it's homegrown or if it's a veteran? You just want people to be part of the solution, to your point. And obviously, what has it been, 16 years? We're on year 16 right now. It's a long time, especially given the money we're spending.
Homegrown enough. It's the Yankees post George Steinbrenner. They are not going to spend, money out the wazoo. So you are going to get the homegrown talent. But yeah, I think it is one of those things though. Like when you hear like, oh yeah, it's really only Aaron Judge. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily fair to say. But we'll see how things go. One thing I actually wanted to run by you before we hit this super from Brian.
Before Brian burns into the screen.
Yeah. Actually, let's just hit the super from Brian. Appreciate the two. That rule is only for the NBA. Oh, the trade rule? Yeah, that's not in the...
which makes a lot of sense, Brian. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. We greatly appreciate it. It makes sense because in the NBA, you can't get rid of money via trade. You have to swap money. If all of a sudden you're trading a Chris Paul for, say, a Kevin Durant, now mind you, those players wouldn't be traded for one another, but you get the point. If all of a sudden a player makes $50 million, in order for the NBA to avoid a player making 20 to be traded for one another, they just make it where contracts have to match. They just do. They have a ton of restrictions with their cap. Major League Baseball doesn't have a cap. You can trade Ryan McMahon. They can trade him to the New York Yankees, and the Yankees can say, oh yeah, we'll take the whole contract. You take these two prospects, and Jake, your dad was pretty actually high on that prospect, but that's neither here nor there. We essentially sent that over and agreed to take all the money. Cody Poteet, see you later. We'll take Cody Bellinger. The whole trade really was us taking $25 million. So you can move any money you'd like, including extension money. So Brian, we really appreciate that. It's absolutely awesome. Yeah. And what did you want to add there, Jake?
Yeah, so again, really appreciate that, Brian. I wanted to add an interesting thing I keep seeing. It sounds more and more like, and it kind of coincides with the whole thing when we were talking to Jim about it. Bullpen arms, it's a buyer's market right now. There's a lot of bullpen arms, but there's a lot of buyers. You're dealing with the Dodgers. You're dealing with the Phillies. The Phillies have made it very clear they want bullpen arms, right? You're dealing with the Mets. You're dealing with all these teams that can spend, that have assets to give away, that have a deep farm system. And so I've actually noticed more on social media, and again, it's not, necessarily a forecast of how the Yankees are going to operate.
That's right.
But I thought it was intriguing. It seems like a lot of people want starting pitching because they think the Yankees have a lot of starters that could be really good bullpen arms. And I don't really feel that way because I personally would want guys that I know can do what they're doing, like a Duran, like a Jax, not Jackson Nix, who doesn't exist.
That's a plug and play situation. You're talking about, I know you can play. I know you can be an eighth inning guy because I just watched it. I know you can close games because I just watched that.
Roll the dice here.
I understand.
They've been rolling the dice. They've been like, Ian Hamilton, who was good 4 years ago. Yeah, we're going to hope he's good today. And he's not.
Jazz Chisholm, he's been a second baseman. We're going to trade for him. We'll put him at third base. Yeah. Why? Well, because Gleyber Torres won't move, right? We were constantly shifting players. Now, mind you, I want to put something out from the comment section. Now, mind you, obviously, this person's trying to be a revisionist and just continuously coming up with something to adjust. But I'm actually going to try to find some value in something that he said. And I think that this is absolutely true. Could have made an example of him, but I'm going to choose to find value. And this is from Sean Michael, who's obviously in the comment section, right?
Appreciate you, Sean.
No, that ain't it. It was something that he said. That was just something else he was complaining about. Mind you, so essentially what Sean was really getting at was that the Yankees don't have the best farm system. That is absolutely true. We've covered that on this show, and we'll never revise that fact. The Yankees don't have a highly touted farm system. Jake, you think it's underrated, but the facts of the matter are there's certainly talent in there, and I've mentioned you have to use them correctly if it's going to matter at all. Now, having said that...
Bugaboo. Your mom's funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she is. But here's the reality. You don't acquire players on the trade market simply because of the rating of your system or the ranking. It just doesn't work that way. All that matters when it comes to the actual market is how aggressive, how much is your GM willing to spend? How much risk is he willing to take on? If you can put up the best offer, you are going to get the player. It's just the way that this market works. And Emmanuel Clase is available. That's a report that we did hear in an interview that we've conducted. We asked some of these questions and we got some real answers. And we figured some of them would be tiptoed around, but the facts of the matter are they weren't. We got direct answers, and we hope you guys go watch that. So back to the Yankees. If the Yankees go into the market and say Emmanuel Clase becomes available, the Yankees may not get that player, right? It's probably unlikely. It's unlikely for anybody going after a player of that caliber. Now, having said that, if you're trying to go get he or Duran, the team that's going to get him is the team that's willing to give up the most. There may be a team with a higher ranked system than us that just doesn't want to get rid of those players. They think those players are part of their future and they'll choose not to. Now, suddenly the Yankees go up a notch. Now, mind you, we again may not get him, Jake, but we have to look at it and say, is Brian Cashman willing to be the most aggressive on said player? And that's what we're going to find out here in 4 days.
Yeah, I think the starting pitcher, bullpen pitcher is a really interesting dynamic because if you say you went out and you double dipped in Arizona, and I don't know, if you did that, it sounds like you'd have to give up your firstborn. But
it sounds like you don't like it based on the tone here. Right.
But let's just say you get Zach Gallen and you get Merrill Kelly, right? So the whole point of this, right? The whole point of what social media is saying, or Yankees fans are saying, is that it's like, well, Luis Seal can go to the bullpen, and Cam Schlittler can go to the bullpen, and Will Warren can go to the bullpen, assuming they're not involved in the trade, which I would imagine one of those guys you'd have to let go to get two starting pitchers, especially in this market. I kind of get that, but again, and am I wrong for, like, am I missing something? I mean, and also, let me be very clear. I'm aware that at some point or another, Yarbrough will be back, and he can go, he can go 6 innings out of the bullpen if you want. But I just don't agree with loading your starting pitchers and just saying to guys that have been built up to start, and throw 100 pitches in a game. Yeah, you're going to go in the bullpen. You're actually going to pitch, sporadically, maybe 3 times a week. I don't think you can just assume that's going to work. That to me only works if it's a video game where you take out like the mental aspect of it.
I was just going to tell you,
controlling players.
Yeah,
like I just think you're asking. You know what it is, Gary? It's too many variables. It's like the idea of taking the 4-leg parlay. You could absolutely nail one player to hit a home run, but as soon as you start adding more variables, it gets more difficult. So I don't like it. I'm not against getting one starter. I don't think it's a need, but I'm not against it. I'm not against Gallen. I really don't know if I want Kelly. I think I'd rather get like a young player, like a Gallen or a Cease. And the entire point is I bring him in, I get him to love New York, I turn them into, I turn them back into what they are, and then they're more inclined to stay, and I'm more inclined to pay them long term, right? So it's kind of like building that connection. But if I get a guy like Merrill Kelly, well, he's 36. Like, I already have a 36-year-old coming back from Tommy John. I don't need another. I don't need to get older, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, I'm not against getting one pitcher if you don't as long as you don't give up an arm and a leg. But I am against just going starting pitchers because bullpen's scary. No, it's not scary. You're gonna have to give up good players. I'm okay with that as long as it's not Spencer Jones. I'm even okay with George Lombard Jr. Okay, I am. I haven't seen enough of him where I'm like, he is untouchable, right?
But that player who comes in for George Lombard Jr., you're talking about a player being on the market that we haven't heard about. Oh, we didn't know that guy was available. We had no idea.
I would need Duran straight up. Like, I would not give you anything. If you gave me Duran for
sweeteners.
George Lombard Jr., I might be okay with that. Maybe if you threw in Colomb and George Lombard Jr. and you got Colomb and you got Duran, I think that's fair. But I wouldn't do it for anything that's the thing. Like he is not. If you're trading George Lombard Jr., you're not getting a mid-level, a low-level, MLB. No.
You're not getting a Ben Rice,
and you're going to enjoy it. So that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, and if that doesn't get you the player, then it's not meant for you. You just keep it moving, and you find another way to get better. Dylan Cease was actually a name that I loved to have joined this team. That's actually my number one target when it comes to starting pitching. And again, people hear this and they go, "Oh, we don't need starting pitching." Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Marcus Stroman starting games. Will Warren is starting games. Yes, you do. Luis Gil, by the way, could never return to form this year. I know people have said, oh, he looks this, he looks that. No, you can look any type of way in AA. Winans looks good in AAA. It doesn't mean anything. They get here, and you're going to find out exactly how players look at the big league level. Now, I'm absolutely rooting for Luis Gil. I think he will return to form, but we have no level of certainty on that. So to say the Yankees don't need starting pitching, they do, but here's a little catch that happened with the Yankees, and obviously most of you know, we've got not a major injury, but it's a major absence with Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge is dealing with something in his elbow that they're expecting him to return after the 10-day IL. Well, once that happens, the Yankees suddenly need their outfielders, especially the ones who can field. Trent Grisham, Cody Bellinger, right? You want those guys playing now. You want those guys starting. And so now a lot of people looked at it and said, oh, I think there's a fit there. San Diego, they're not going to take Trent Grisham straight up for Dylan Cease. But the point is that's one of the players possibly who can come off your big league roster. Well, now that Aaron Judge is hurt, that's probably not an option. So very interesting development. It's disappointing, of course, but I mean, that's just the way it crumbles. That's baseball. Some injuries happen. Some things happen with another organization. Maybe a Lugo signs an extension and now all of a sudden he becomes a more attractive asset, takes more prospects, and lands somewhere else. That's just the way that this goes. I want to catch up on some of these supers. You guys have been awesome. Guy with the 2 says, I'm all in playing the youth and trading our rentals. So those rentals, of course, being Trent Grisham, And who else we got?
Paul Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt, who's playing good baseball. And again, he's on a 1-year contract, so his age isn't probably a factor. And he's also been splitting time this year, not playing every day. So Paul Goldschmidt's probably a very attractive asset. But again, we asked this question with Jim Bowden. Do you think the Yankees, honestly, don't listen to us, listen to him. He's the professional. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think it's a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market for them? Are they considering selling? The answer, absolutely not. The Yankees aren't even considering it. Brian Cashman, and I'm quoting, has the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll see.
We'll be the determiners of that.
Words, but yes. I agree with the sentiment, and he was actually really high on Ben Rice. He actually called him next year's the Yankees first baseman of 2026. So, I mean,
also mentioned the strike zone, the automated strike zone, and talked about the value of that now becoming less valuable. Framing the ball doesn't matter as much when we have an automated strike zone. That is going to make Ben Rice more attractive as a catcher. It just will. Yeah. So very interesting stuff.
But he did defend Austin Wells. Because he's definitely the catcher, which is totally fair. I'm not trying to push Austin Wells out the door. That was my guy. I like the way he said you can expect more next year. I'm not necessarily in agreement, but he seemed to really believe in Austin Wells, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, I think it is really intriguing because we already know the Yankees. It sounds like they're not trading Spencer Jones at all. Okay, and then you see George Lombard Jr. It sounds like he is untouchable, which, again, it's nothing against him, but, and he showed us in spring training he has something there. He's struggling in Double-A right now. He is. And
at least the offense.
My dad loves prospects, but he always said, I hate the term untouchable because he's like, if I offer you Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, you can't tell me you're not going to trade away George Lombard Jr. for those guys.
Of course, it should always be fluid.
Everybody's got a price in the words of Ted DiBiase Sr. But, I feel like they're okay. You know what I think they're going to do? And it is weird because Bowden mentioned Arias a lot. I don't know if Schlittler makes it through the deadline or not. I hope he does. I'd love to see that through. And then just maybe if you have to choose one of Warren, Heel, and Schlittler, I'm choosing Warren to trade away. But I like all three of them. I think the best thing for the Yankees to do is figure out, is Rafael Flores the future at catcher? If you feel so, then okay. You feel things according. Maybe you trade away Rice, right? Maybe you trade away JC Escara, right? You pave the way. If you think he is your franchise catcher, Rafael Flores, then you do not trade him. But if you don't, this would be the time to probably trade him because he's got a lot of momentum building right now. He's in AAA. He's hitting well. And then it's not just him, Rock Reggio. I mentioned this to you. I thought it was really interesting. Rock Reggio doesn't look like a guy they're trying to force into the major leagues. He has only played second base, Gary. Second base is blocked as can be. I think Jazz Chisholm gets a long-term deal with the Yankees, and he's going to be the second baseman of the future. And if he's not, then, and I know not everybody loved when he said it, but Bowden mentioned Volpe potentially moving over there. Point being, second base is pretty blocked. They're not getting creative at all with Rock Reggio. He's not playing third. He's not playing, shortstop. He's only playing second. It kind of tells me he just had his 18th home run today. It tells me Rock Reggio is one of those guys like an Agustin Ramirez that we saw last year go for Jazz Chisholm. He's one of those guys they are going to sell high on. And I think he and Flores can net a pretty penny. So this is where you kind of you look at the top 10, the top 15 list. You take it with a grain of salt because there are a lot of teams around the league that have guys that they want to trade for. They have their own flavor. Some teams are like, yeah, we know Lombard Jr. is your top prospect, or we know Spencer Jones is going off. We don't believe in Spencer Jones' long swing. That's fine. There are some teams that are like, Cam Schlittler's velo, we don't have that anywhere on the roster. We might have not, graded him that high coming out, but whatever you did, now he's desirable. Or they could just be like, you know what? We've had scouts all over your farm system, and we think that guy Brock Selvage is a super underrated steal, and we want him. And the Yankees are going to go, huh, interesting. You want him? You don't want Carlos LaGrange or anything? That is the trade deadline. It's not just the reading off names like, oh, these guys are in the top 5 of the MLB pipeline. No, they have their own list. These guys are creating their own list.
Yeah,
and
what
that's
the Yankees think, they're high on all these guys. That's just the way that our own system works. Everyone says, oh, the Yankees are overhyping their prospects. Perhaps we can all agree on that long term. But when you're talking about this year, what farm system is like, oh, yeah, our number 4 prospect, our 4th most, like the guy that we think is 4th best in our whole system, yeah, we don't think he's that good. Why would they think that? He wouldn't be 4th. They're high on it. But I want to say one thing. When you mention at catcher and buying into one player versus another, I want to say something about value. Value is not stagnant. It will not remain the same. And this is something that I believe all Yankees fans know. All of them. Every single one of them. They understand the concept that if we have a prospect who's not just highly ranked in our system, but performing well, right? These are both important equally. And when that happens, and you decide, oh, I don't want to trade that player for such and such. I don't want to trade that player for him. We think we should get more. And 2 years go by. And suddenly, you haven't done anything with that player. Now, all of a sudden, Rule 5 comes into play. All of a sudden, you're forced to now bring that player up or trade them for a diminishing value because that team has less control. So I want people to understand the top 10, they're not all going to be Yankees. They can't all be Yankees. It just doesn't work that way. Or in any system.
No.
So I want people to understand some of these players are trade chips, and they're supposed to be trade chips. Some of them. And now you can look at the top 10 and make your decision of which players you think have not only a legitimate case to play for the Yankees, but do they have a spot? Do they have a spot to play? Are they an outfielder where you say, okay, Spencer Jones, he should have a spot here in the near future? But would you suggest that another outfielder with Jason Dominguez, Aaron Judge, Spencer Jones on your roster, does an outfielder make sense? Probably not for this organization. So now suddenly that outfielder, whoever they are, if they're number 8 on your prospects list, they just have that type of value on the trade market, and you need to make sure if they are traded, you sell them at the absolute highest you can and as early as possible. So I hope people understand that. Brian Cashman has not just a job to buy, he needs to understand when is it time to sell and who should I sell.
I love the way you said that. But yes, I definitely agree. And keep in mind, for those of you who don't understand the Rule 5, you just lose the player. You're getting punished, essentially, for not putting them on the 40-man roster. You're getting punished for not giving them a chance to actually develop throughout your minor leagues. That's what happens. That's the whole point of the Rule 5 draft. It's put in place by the players' union, and it has to be there. Because otherwise, you just be like, oh, yeah, we're just manipulating service time. The guy's 30. So is he never going to play?
You can just wait till the dude's 29 and say, well, he's developed for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. He's ready to play, and then everyone's cheap. I'm glad these are in there
100%.
Because you need to protect players. Not every player gets to play. Not every player gets to live out the contract of maybe an Aaron Judge. And we're not even talking about money here. We're talking about even being at the big league level for 10 to 15 years. Do you guys know how hard that is? It is incredibly difficult. And even to get league minimum for a decade, it's life-changing money. It is.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that these rules are in place where prospects are somewhat protected, because some of these bigger market teams or even smaller market almost hoarding these prospects. It's just not fair to them. So this is all fair. And Alex with the 20. Alex, thank you for supporting Yankees Unloaded. You've been doing
appreciate you, Alex.
You've been supporting us for the past several weeks. We greatly appreciate it. I believe that's a 49ers fan in that picture, if I'm not mistaken.
Hold on, let me see. The Cardinals?
Is it Arizona?
I thought it was Cardinals. It looks like a 49er hat with a Cardinals jersey. I don't know why. That doesn't look like a 49er jersey, but maybe it is.
I'm going to commit to 49ers. I could absolutely be wrong, but yeah, Alex, let us know. But again, thank you for supporting us as always. And Yuri with the 5, also a mod here at Yankees Unloaded. And again, guys, make sure you subscribe to Yankees Unloaded. We are giving away, I know it's at the ticker at the bottom, but I want to remind you, we are giving away a Yankees jersey of your choice, fully customized, top quality, straight out of MLB, straight out of the MLB store, yankees.com, whatever you call it. We're going to order a jersey from there. So make sure you guys get involved. And of course, hit the bell to make sure you're notified. We're not sure why YouTube would even require that, but they clearly do. And Yuri says, finally a win. I think we're all pleasantly surprised with the win today. We couldn't be happier. This bullpen should be named Bullpen, which is a mess. This needs to be resolved ASAP. Now, mind you, we have 4 days. And I'll tell you, it doesn't feel like we have 4 days, given how volatile this bullpen is. And Jake, I know you continue to beat the drum that, right, you beat the drum that the deadline hasn't passed. We still could do something epic, but at the same time, we've got games to play between now and the 31st. So I understand some of the volatility of even waiting 2 or 3 days. You may get swept, in the meantime of before that happens. So yeah, I'm with Yuri. I want to see this bullpen mess, this Bullpen have a solution. And you know who probably wants a solution even more? Aaron Boone. He loves using his bullpen. And you mean to tell me my options are this? I mean, look who we had pitching today, right? You look up and you've got Loaizaga, who nobody trusts. There's not one person in this comments that believes in what Jonathan Loaizaga is doing, right? Weaver looked much better today. Tim Hill, Devin Williams, they all pitched really well today. Now, mind you, that probably doesn't happen the same way tomorrow or the next day. The Yankees need reinforcements. So, Yuri, you're on it.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you, Yuri. By the way, I just thought of something. The Cease deal, we've been looking at it all wrong.
Have we?
Because it was initially outfield. Bro, the perfect deal at Bobby Mylone29 actually put this out, and I actually really like it. JC Escar and Everson Pereira for Cease. Everson Pereira is MLB ready. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's MLB ready. This is about as ready as he's going to be. And he's hitting the cover off the ball. He's showing power. And JC Escar already has like a lot of interest in this league. And you look at the catchers right now for the Padres, Martin Maldonado and I think
massive upgrade for the Padres at catcher alone.
He would be their starting catcher. So
he's not Buster Posey, but you're selling a rental. You're selling a rental and a guy who's been really good. And this year he's having a down year. I think that, to me, is a no-brainer. If they could pull that off, that's a great trade. I actually like that he mentioned that. Now, would they maybe have to give up something else? Sure, but it'd be like low level. I just think that is a really good trade for both parties. Because, again, when you're coming up with trades, if you're not looking at the other team's needs, you're not doing it right. When we're doing trade, like projections, right, you have to see what another team wants. The Padres, I mean, don't get me wrong, Trent Grisham would be a great fit. That might be too much to give up. Like, Trent Grisham is part of a team that has aspirations to win the World Series, whether you believe they will or not. I bet you we see a report on Ben Rice to the Padres. I'm not telling you he's going to be traded there. Mm-hmm. I bet you. Mind you, we're hearing league-wide how highly Ben Rice is touted behind the plate. Not as just a straight-up catcher, not to control the run game, none of those things.
There's just no way Escar is going to be on this team after 31st.
I hear you. I would almost bet my last dollar that the San Diego Padres, there's going to be a report that they've at the very least asked for Ben Rice. I think that'll happen. And I'm not telling you it will. That's just part of negotiation. You can show up, you can ask, and then some other thing comes. So, yeah, what you do mention is true. You're mentioning the fact that we may be comfortable giving up said prospect. We'll give up this, we'll give up that for a Durant or whoever else. But if that team doesn't have team needs for that in the short term or long term, why are you forking over those prospects? They don't want them. If they have a catcher that they're comfortable with for the next 6 to 7 seasons, why would you float a catcher to that team? It doesn't work that way. That team may need Trent Grisham. That team may need Ben Rice. That team may need Devin Williams. You have no idea what that team needs. So I do want people to pay attention, and obviously it's a point that you're bringing up. You need to play catch here. See what their needs are, and then try to accommodate them.
Absolutely. But yeah, it was just something I thought of. Yuri, we appreciate you as always. You're the man.
I hope this is true that Slim Lewis is mentioning with the 5. He said, mind you, you're not high, right? We're high on Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Just my guess. The type of baseball I watch him play, when you say, okay, well, what makes a Hall of Famer? Mostly great hitting. Yeah, Jake thinks it's a 0% chance. That's how far the Yankees have fallen from their graces. A future Hall of Famer is about to become available, and Jake thinks there's a 0 chance. I also think it's an incredibly low chance, if not 0. Now, mind you, Slim, I'm going to read this entire super chat and then tell you essentially what I think in very short terms. Slim, thank you for the 5. Says, I don't think this year's contract will prevent going after Tucker or other big free agents in 2026, especially if they go younger with the core. Now, mind you, if Spencer Jones shows up and rakes, right? He has to rake. If he rakes, the Yankees probably are feeling the only way we bring in Kyle Tucker is if we trade Jason Dominguez. It's the only way. They're not going to bring this player in any other fashion. So there's a lot that has to happen, Slim. And mind you, when you talk about it won't prevent them, when have you ever seen money not prevent us from doing something?
Yeah.
It prevents us all the time. Bryce Harper, oh no, we can't do that because the budget, will you take X amount of dollars? Well, no, you're not even within $100 million of the highest offer. It's not even a conversation. Manny Machado, same deal. We fail to land a lot of these free agents, and Juan Soto's the most competitive offer the Yankees have put out there and failed. That was the first time, Jake, where we said, oh, the Yankees actually put together a realistic deal to bring back a player, and they failed to do so. At $775 million, we were pretty satisfied with that number we went up to, but to Slim's point, he seems to believe that the Yankees will go up to, say, $450 to $500 million. I personally would, but do I think it's going to happen? Unfortunately, no.
I appreciate the optimism, and also appreciate the super chat, Slim. Always, always supporting the channel. And then another one that's always supporting the channel, Brian. Thank you for the 5. I have this gut feeling Cashman is going to pull off a trade that comes out of left field. Paston says the league is really high on our prospects. I've been saying, I keep hearing, oh, the Yankees prospects are overrated. They're not that good. Yeah, but everyone wants them. Isn't that funny how everyone seems to want them? That's the thing. There's a disconnect here. And look, I don't blame people for outright lying, especially when you're trying, this is a value market. I can't show my hand. If I'm showing my hand and say, yeah, the Yankees have a great farm system, well, now I've already let people know. Like, I'm trying, if I'm like the Rockies, for instance, I'm not letting them know. Like, I was just like, yeah, we'll take Griffin Herring off your hands. We're not like, yeah, we want Griffin Herring because he's awesome. Then the Yankees will be like, should we trade him? Like, it's kind of that type of thing.
When you walk into a house and you're supposed to be looking at a home, guess what your real estate agent tells you? They tell you each and every time. Every single time your real estate agent looks you right in the face and they say, hey, let's keep it together here. Yeah. You're going to look across the house. Do not come. Oh, I love the backyard. Oh, you do? Well, you think you're going to tell the homeowner who's selling you a house, oh, the backyard is my dream backyard. Oh, the walk-in closet, it's my dream. Yep. Oh, wow, the movie theater in the back, this is my dream. You can't do that. Why? Because you're just projecting that you can't decline top dollar. You may walk in, you're supposed to just say, it's nice. Yeah, you're really supposed to tell them what you don't like. That's actually what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, oh, the floor, the travertine over here is not even. Oh, yeah, the shower over here, it needs some gravel work. It's just not, it doesn't seem like it's going to work out. All the while, you love the product just so that you can diminish their returns. And so, yeah, here's where I'll disagree. I don't think the Yankees have a great system. That's just me personally. But I do think the Yankees, especially in their top 10, they have ways situationally that they can cash in. They can be aggressive, and they've always had that opportunity. They've chosen not to. There's been situations where Peraza was floated out there for big-time players. We said no. There's been times where Anthony Volpe was highly touted enough to go get a Luis Castillo. We said no. So the Yankees, yes, do they have an overrated system over the past 10 years or whatever have you, or at this point you feel like they're underrated? They just don't know when to cash in those chips. That's their real problem. So I don't want people to misconstrue not knowing when to sell on a prospect with all of them just suck, because I don't think that's the case.
No, that's definitely fair. But I like that Brian said this and I like that Passon said this because I keep seeing it. I mean, the fact, again, I know it's only one like example, but it just stands out in my mind. The fact the Pirates they called about Carlos LaGrange, that tells you everything. I mean, there are teams that actually are looking at prospects that they have is like, this dude could be in the MLB next year, and he's not going to be in the MLB for 2 years if he stays in the Yankees farm system. And that's another thing. I also think the Yankees take way too long. I think Spencer Jones would already be, if you took all 30 teams, okay, obviously not including the Yankees, so 29. Maybe 20 of them already have Spencer Jones in the show. And I don't think it has any, I'm going to be honest, I think it's a cop-out. I don't think it's because he's blocked. I think it's because they baby their prospects. And I also think he is unfortunately suffering from the fact that Anthony Volpe was the guy they basically tried to go against their normal inclination, right? They're normally like, we're going to wait. Like, we're going to wait till he turns 23, 24, whatever. No, they heard everybody talking about him. Everybody wanted him to be on the roster. Remember, he wasn't initially going to be on the roster. It really sounded like he was going to be sent back down. And he had a great spring training. He got all the hype in the world. Fans were begging for him to get a shot. He gets the shot. And so they have constantly let this guy get all these reps. And they now see who is the most scrutinized player on this team. It's Anthony Volpe. And I think it's giving them cold feet about these prospects. And so that's just my take, but I do think there are teams right now looking at the Yankees and saying, yeah, Carlos LaGrange with 3 major contracts in that rotation, he's probably never going to see the rotation for the Yankees. We need to go and get that guy because he's just going to waste away in the Yankees farm system.
Yeah, in your system, he may be extraordinarily valuable. And Ninja Hot Dog with the 2, thank you, Ninja, says Carlos Rodon's problem needs to be addressed. Okay, so I really don't think it does. I don't
think so.
Garrett Cole, if you look at just the way certain players give up runs, there are a lot of players, before we ever signed them, we knew how are they going to give up those runs. Let's look at Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's favorite pitch to throw, he throws it often, is his 4-seam fastball. Ton of spin. If you're wondering why he misses so many bats, it's not just the 98. There's a lot of guys in the big leagues who throw 98. Mm-hmm. It's the spin. But you know what? When that ball's caught up to, when that ball's not being swung under, that ball leaves the stadium. That's why he works on the power slider. That's why the knuckle curve comes out. That's why the changeup comes out of there. So that is part of the reason why you have to be able to locate and have sequencing. Now, Carlos Rodon, on the other hand, he's the type of pitcher who was strictly at one point, Jake, we covered him as a 2-pitch pitcher. He had a changeup. He used it 2% of the time. He was a fastball slider guy. And we mentioned that's not going to work, at least not long term. You're already giving up a ton of home runs. So what do? They tell us before the season ever starts, Rodon's working on a sinker. Rodon's working on a little cutter, working on an ability to throw fastballs that miss the center of the barrel, finding a way to get ahead with the hard stuff without it strictly being a 4-seam fastball. And he's done exactly that. Now, this season, Carlos Rodon has improved on this area of his game. It's just not perfect. It's never going to be. And if you wanted it to be, you just shouldn't have signed him. And you bring somebody else in there who doesn't give up as much hard contact when there is contact. Max Fried being one of them. When there's contact, Ariel Epstein mentioned on our show, it's a ton of ground balls, right? She even told us, I would avoid the K prop if I were you. If you want to make money in this field, do not touch the K prop. That's because he throws a lot of sinkers. He throws a lot of cutters. So, yeah, I'm not worried about the home runs. I'm just not. It's just about when you give them up. If you give them up in the 5th or 6th with traffic out there, yeah, it's a problem. But if you give up 2 homers in a game and you surrender 3, but you pitch 5 or 6 innings and we win a postseason game, do we really care that you gave up homers? Probably not.
Hey, I'm a big Ninja Hot Dog fan here on this channel. Love the dog, of course, so appreciate the super chat. I disagree as well. The home runs today were frustrating, but you know what? You know what the home runs did today? It still kept the Yankees in the game. he didn't give up a 3-run shot on each of them. All 3 of them were solo. He only gives up 3 runs, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, and his ERA goes up by 8 points. Like, I'll take that. I'm sorry, I'll take that. If other people don't want that, that's totally fine.
Not every day.
I'll take this,
but we'll take it situationally.
I'll take this because I know in the next time or 2 times from now, he's going to come out and just have his stuff and be electric and go 7 innings and have 4 hits and not give up a run and have 9 strikeouts. Like, that's Rodon. So the fact that we're talking about it's July 27th here and Rodon still has a 3.18 ERA, you should be very happy about that because he doesn't really stick around this in Yankee pinstripes very often. So this year has been very good for him. There's a reason why he was an All-Star, even though the All-Star game's kind of a joke because you only take the first half of the season. But there's a reason why he was an All-Star. I'm a big fan of Carlos Rodon, and I'm glad he got the win. I'm very glad he got the win. I thought it was well deserved. He grinded out a battle against one of the best pitchers in all of baseball in Zach Wheeler, and I don't care. So that's really what comes down.
We're
to.
both happy about today's outing. It could have been better. We would prefer you not to give up 3 home runs. Actually mentioned before the game started, I thought we were going to lose this game mainly because of our bullpen, but I assumed we'd be giving up the home run. There's a ton of pressure on us. We have no bullpen. And long and behold, Ryan McMahon came up with a big hit. Rodon really pitched well, and the 3 mistakes he made left the yard. So
and he had 1 walk, which I see brought up by Sierra and O'Malley, which appreciate that. That's a big thing. You know what screwed Stroman the other day? Himself. He walked 4 batters. Like,
you can't walk guys and give up home runs. If you start putting guys on the bases and then you give up, I'll tell you what. To Ninja's point, if you give up 2 home runs and one of them was a 2-run, the other one's a 3-run, that start is garbage.
Yeah, it's
and we'll
5
cover
runs.
it exactly like that. His job is run prevention. If you give up 2 or 3 in a start, I don't really care how you give them up. I really don't. All that matters is your job is to prevent and keep our offense in the game so that if we lose, we can blame somebody else other than you. I think he's done his job. And Steve, thank you for becoming a YouTube member at Yankees Unloaded. It is greatly appreciated. And by the way, just a little quick announcement here. For a lot of our interviews, our members, for those of you wondering what you do get, we are releasing our interviews with Jabba Chamberlain, obviously with Jim Bowden earlier today. Those interviews release early for our members, so please be sure to check out those interviews. They will be available at least an hour early. So thank you again, Steve, for doing so. And Backseat Driver with the 20, thank you for supporting Yankees Unloaded. It's greatly appreciated. He's got the sunset in his picture. So it might be Zach Greinke. I know he's a huge fan of the sunsets. But he says, guys, don't give up on Volpe. Next year, he'll adjust. It's always next year, isn't it? His on base is 288. And mind you, this is all absent of an opinion. I'll save the opinion. I'll give it to you eventually. But he's a career 225 hitter. He's a guy that overall, Jake, is a really good glove with a bad arm. You can get away with that as long as the glove is good. He's leading shortstops in errors. That's a problem. John Boy brings up that he is a actually statistically, the most inaccurate arm in the infield in the game. That is a problem. And when you do all of that on top of hitting 225 with power, right? He's got 14 home runs, nothing great, nothing saving that defense, certainly, right? He's got 55 ribbies. He's stolen 11 bases. He's almost been thrown out as much as he's stolen successfully. Today, he did steal one of those bags. Thankfully, he would have been thrown out if it was caught at all. But I will say this about Anthony Volpe. I've mentioned, and so has Jake, we think he'll be in the major leagues for a long time. We think this will be fixed. But can we fix it? He's been on our team for 3 full seasons. This hasn't been a stop and go. This hasn't been a call down, right? Send him up, call him down. None of it. It's been Anthony Volpe is going to take his lumps and see if he can improve, and it hasn't happened. So I appreciate, again, your optimism, just like Jake was saying, but he's just not showing us enough to believe that 2026 is the year.
Yeah, he kind of, this is a football analogy, but do you remember the running back the Seattle Seahawks drafted years ago, Justin Forsett?
I do.
They had high hopes for him, and he never really took the next step. He showed some signs and never really. Then he went to the Ravens, and just 1 year, like, he really figured it out. He had 1,000 yards. I kind of see that with Volpe. Like, I think he's almost going to, like, and obviously running backs, they kind of die off when they hit 30. So unfortunately, he figured it out way too late. But if Volpe figures it out like 29 or whatever, you know, I really do believe he's going to be like that type of player. I think he's probably going to be around this most of his career, and then just something will work. Look at Mickey Moniak right now, the way he's playing.
Yeah, number 1 overall pick in the draft. And mind you, when Anthony Volpe came here, because I know people think, there's people who DM me every day. Yeah. Every day, Jake. Why do you hate Volpe? Why do you this? And it's almost as though they don't listen. Well, first off, obviously they're lazy. They don't know what our content actually is or what we say. When Anthony Volpe was first called up to this team, do you remember the player I said he would be?
Yes. How could I forget?
Who's that?
Dansby Swanson.
Dansby Swanson. Is Dansby Swanson a good player? Isn't he wealthy beyond belief?
He
generational
is.
Wealth because
he's not
of playing
quite
baseball?
What he was billed as, but
sure,
he's very good.
Certainly a good baseball player. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. He's probably not going to the Hall of Very Good either. But he's a good player. He can field his position. He can make all the throws you want. Now, mind you, I hadn't done the necessary research on Volpe's arm, so I will absolutely take that constructive criticism. But I was hopeful enough on this player that if I got Dansby Swanson, I'd be happy. And certainly, his numbers, are these Dansby Swanson numbers? No. Is the glove Dansby Swanson-esque? No, it's not. So this is nothing personal. I'm not cutting the cord because I've always hated Volpe and resented him because we didn't get Luis Castillo. No, it's none of those things. It is simply input-output. When you give me 225 with poor defense and poor arm accuracy, and you get thrown out on the bases almost as much as you steal, I have to cover you a certain way. And if people believe 2026 is the year, I'm not going to try and change your mind. We all have different opinions.
Yeah, no, of course. And I mean, Volpe's story isn't written. He is 24, so we'll see what ends up happening. But do I have a ton of confidence? Not really. Scott, appreciate the 5. Cash fails at figuring out proper value. The road is littered with prospects he hugged and players he didn't get when they were 1 or 2 pieces away. You know what's actually kind of funny about this is there is a catcher right now that they trade away in Alex Jackson, and it's early on, right? Mm-hmm. But he has 1,000 OPS, and like he has like 26 at bats, but he's got 3 home runs, and he's got 1,000 OPS for the Orioles. They needed a catcher, so the Yankees sent him over. Him, Augustin, Narvaez, they're actually becoming, in a weird way, like a farm system for the league when it comes to catchers. I have no idea why.
Yeah, that is interesting. I will say, though, when it comes to he fails at figuring out proper value, I actually don't even agree with it. Scott, so mind you, what I really think the Yankees' problem is? They don't know when to lose value. Sometimes there's a player out there, whoever they are, and they're usually at the top of the market. The Yankees think every trade, no matter if it's for a great player, middle tier, or just downright treacherous. Brian Cashman thinks his literal job is to execute trade wins. That's what he thinks this is. He will go out there, and you could tell him, I'm not kidding you guys, they could tell you that Paul Skeens was available. Now, mind you, we wouldn't get him. We don't have good enough prospects to acquire the player. That's one. Because other teams would want him, and they, with better systems, would acquire him. But you know what Brian Cashman would try to do in that trade for Paul Skeens? He would try and win the deal. He would try and say, how do I quantify Paul Skeens, and then how do I match the value? You shouldn't even be trying to match the value for Paul Skeens. You should be trying to get them whatever means necessary to get that type of player through the door. He's physically incapable. He's mentally incapable of doing such. So, Scott, the biggest problem for the Yankees, and I believe it's the reason the Yankees haven't won a World Series, I believe this, is because the Yankees are constantly just trying to be smart rather than doing and bringing in players they know are necessary to win. And it really absolves them from taking any credit. Right now, the way we do business, it almost seems like it's teed up, so we have to turn around and give him credit. in Brian Cashman. And I just don't think that's a smart play. And right now, people are complaining about Ryan McMahon, but I'll tell you what, if you saw what he did today, it reeks of, oh, look the type of impact he made. Look how smart I am. This is working out, right? So, yeah, Scott, I understand people want to believe he's hugging players or whatnot. He's just the type of guy who cannot take a trade loss for the better.
No. I mean, this is one thing that you've said, like, I think if they were willing to spend more in the offseason, actually treat free agency like free agency, there would be no issue getting rid of prospects because you're just replenishing that every year with your money. But they don't even do that. So, yeah, I mean, that's technically how you should be using it. Because think about it, in the way like draft picks, because no one cares about baseball draft picks. There was a rare trade where the Orioles gave up one of their draft picks. But yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah. I was unaware it happens that little. I didn't know. It never happens, right? But you can trade draft picks. Interesting. It's not like the NBA where teams have traded so many draft picks. Some teams aren't picking in the first round until 2032. It's not like that. The NFL draft picks are like, you can't get rid of them. They're top prospects, but you have a bunch of them, right? The way it works in baseball is that the top prospects are essentially that is like your currency. So you kind of have to balance it because obviously it's your currency for buying stuff, but it's also, these are guys that you can also use to build a team affordably and allow you to go out and get big fish. But the problem is, and this has been your issue, is that they'll sit there and say, we want to be cheaper. And we're going to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to use these prospects. And they get called up to the show. And now we have a really controllable, affordable looking roster. So we can go out and get Kyle Tucker and Tarek Skubal, right? Wrong. Because, and that's the thing is, it's like the team, the organization, they look at it in terms of you can't have it both ways when in fact it's literally, not only can you have it both ways, Gary, that's literally the point. Is that the entire point of draft picks in any sort of sport, or the entire point of a farm system, for instance, and this can also be applied to hockey, is that you have controllable, affordable assets that now, and you laughed about this when I said this, you don't have to play the Miami Heat stars and scrubs lineup where Birdman is your center, right?
You're allowed to just fork out a check and say, I really didn't want to get rid of that shortstop. I had high hopes for him.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed to see that and say, I surrendered that to bring in a starting pitcher. But then you look at in the future and say, well, there's a big time shortstop on the market in the winter. Cha-ching. You write a check.
Cha-ching.
Your shortstop's there. Your starting pitcher's there. That's the luxury of being a major market. And that's what pisses off a lot of people. We make it seem like if we deal so-and-so, it's impossible to recoup it. Oh my God, if we get rid of a Spencer Jones, oh my gosh, if we get rid of a George Lombard Jr., what are we going to do? I don't know, guys. Why don't you just write a check for $500 million, and then the player that you traded them for better be awesome as well. Now you've got two great players, so that's just sort of how the business works. And I get it's not a video game. You can't trade everybody. I want to catch up on some of these supers. So by the way, before I get to it, I do see my mom acting like I'm Mr. Big League, and I don't reply to her. I talk to her all day. She wants to know, and she saw somebody in the comments asking about our Discord. Now, Jake, would you be able to offer some information? We will get in the Discord ourselves a little bit more, especially to make sure that we're able to have conversation, real baseball conversation. Twitter's supposed to be that, but as you guys know, Twitter's just mainly a waste of time. It's where people go to do nothing with their lives and then argue as competition. But our Discord is different. We still go on it. We're not sure why. It's quite embarrassing that we do so. But by the way, if you guys have a link to our Discord, Jake, I don't know if you do.
Just
that would be awesome. We dropped it. So you can go ahead and join our Discord.
And I'll pin it too.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I'll catch up on some of these supers. And John says, oh, wow, this is a Brian Cashman-esque comment. But, I mean, technically true. John Kirk with the 5. John, thank you for investing in our show and Yankees Unloaded. Says they have 4 arms coming back: Heel, Leiter, Yarbrough, and Cruz. When are they coming back, and where do they go, rotation or pen? Now, Luis Heel is most likely to be in the rotation. He's built up to be a starter, right? You've got Jim saying in our interview, Jim Bowden says, oh, well, they like the way he's been looking. Okay. Well, Leiter, he's going to be in your bullpen. Yarbrough is the one guy you can, of course, Cruz is going to your bullpen, but Yarbrough is the guy where that's a question mark. He had success in our rotation. We've seen that. Jake, you've mentioned, I don't want to trade for players and then try to figure out what to do with them and really reinvent the wheel here. Yarbrough is the one player where you actually have the flexibility there in terms of value. So an interesting question. What do you think they do with these 4 players?
Oh, man. This is a great question. I love this. Okay, so Heel is going to take over Schlittler's spot in the rotation, I believe.
Okay.
Tomorrow could be Schlittler's last game starting for the Yankees. I hope it's not, but it very well could be. And he's going up against Drew Rasmussen, who's really good. I've always liked him. Dealt with some injuries, but he's back. Then you have Mark Leiter Jr. Mark Leiter Jr. has reverse splits, generates ground balls, and his stats, his production was good until he broke his leg and people didn't realize he was playing with a broken leg. So I'm all for him. I think he'll be back in like that 7th inning role. Yarbrough is going to be their long reliever. They might even double. Yarbrough might get double barreled in the postseason, Gary. How they did last year with they did it with Schmidt and Cortez.
I can see that happening, especially when you have, let's just say, a Luis Heel isn't necessarily recouping the way that you want him.
Yeah.
Yarbrough can be flexed into that situation where, mind you, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is part of the reason I said that the Yankees should go acquire another starter, is that, am I comfortable? If Luis Heel isn't back to form, the Yankees chose not to pitch him in last year's postseason. They didn't want him to pitch. He was healthy, didn't pitch him. Now you go into this year's postseason, and if he doesn't look like the Luis Heel that we remember, well, too bad. He's got to pitch. Where all of a sudden at the last second, you're going to say, hey, Cam Schlittler, come throw game 4. That's not going to happen, guys. It just simply won't. You're going to throw a guy, especially a veteran in Ryan Yarbrough, he'll be ready for that game. Now, is he ready to shut it down? No. And also in a postseason setting, Yarbrough is not going to be in a postseason game by the 5th or 6th. It's going to be, as you mentioned, that double-barreled action. So very interesting. It's not an ideal situation, but I will say there's a ton of value, especially from this point to the end of the season, in Yarbrough flexing out to the bullpen and saving our pen for a weekend, saving our bullpen, having the ability to finish out a game from the 6th inning on. There aren't a ton of guys who can do that. There just aren't, right? Seth Lugo is one of those players. And then, of course, they said there's so much value here. You're a starter full time. So, yeah, I push Yarbrough personally to the bullpen. I try to utilize those innings the best way I can. And I'm excited for those guys to come back. But I will say, final thing, that's not enough. The New York Yankees need to go out on the market and acquire 2 big-time arms in their bullpen, and you fit the rest of those guys around them. And if you don't have a spot for one of them, too bad.
As long as these guys come back to health, okay? You got Devin Williams, you got Yarbrough, you got Weaver, you got
Tim
Leiter,
Hill's probably there.
Tim Hill, because you need a lefty, otherwise it's just all righties. Cruz, right? Then you got your 2 guys at the deadline. That's 8 right there. They don't need like 5 bullpen arms. It feels that way. They need at least 2, but they don't need 2 that are just guys. They need 2 that if I give you the ball, you are going to more often than not help me out. Plug and play, as you said. This is where I push back on any of those, we're going to just look at the bargain bin. We're thinking we like his stuff. We think we can get the most out of him. Stop it. You've been squeezing oranges that have no juice in them anymore. Like, give Matt Blake, for the love of God, something to actually work with. That's my take on that.
And we've been told that's what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we've been told? They're going to be aggressive.
That's what we've been told. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, right? But that's what we've been told. And I have a pretty long list here. I won't name all of them, but it is kind of rich how I go through. It's kind of just an exercise of mine that I do. I go through the free agents of this past year that the Yankees passed on, and look at all of these guys that you'll find they could have just signed for the bullpen, and they're available on the so now you have to trade assets for them.
Is Estevez on this list?
Oh yeah, he absolutely is. All right, so let's think about this. All right, so let's go with all right, let's go with what is it? Well, the Yankees did sign Adam Ottavino, and then I don't know what happened with him, but
they Ubered him to the stadium and then Ubered him out.
Yeah, Caleb Ferguson is a guy that they want to bring back. He's whatever. He's linked to them. $3 million a year. I'm not saying that I would have done that, but Danny Coulombe, $3 million, was a free agent. Okay. Loaizaga they spent $5 million on, which is insane. Kyle Finnegan, $6 million, was a free agent. Tommy Kahnle, $7.7 million, was a free agent. Kenley Jansen, who's available, he was a free agent.
David Robertson just signed for, I believe it was $6 million.
David Robertson, AJ Minter for the Mets, he signed too. Blake Trainin, Carlos Estevez, right? Jeff Hoffman. These are guys that I've already mentioned. Tanner Scott. I wouldn't have given Tanner Scott that contract.
And Tanner Scott turned into a lemon.
Yeah.
That's for the Dodgers too, and the Dodgers are the most aggressive team. They didn't expect this.
There were a lot of guys. Kirby Yates. Remember they were interested in Kirby Yates?
I do remember that.
And then they just let the Dodgers get him. They were the favorites for him, and then all of a sudden he's on the Dodgers now. Goodbye. So the point being is that they absolutely could have addressed this bullpen more in the offseason. They essentially just traded for Devin Williams and were like, we're done. We'll just get some guys here and there. And this is on Brian Cashman. And so now the question is he going to double down on his stupidity or negligence? Probably a better word. I'm not trying to call him stupid. But is he going to double down on his negligence with the bullpen? I know Gary's like, well, I see that.
I didn't say anything. No comment.
But yeah, is he going to double down on his negligence with the bullpen and not do anything at the deadline and go out and get another bunch of Delos meatballs? Or is he going to rectify the situation? Because I'm going to say it. No one else is going to say it. I'm going to say it. Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, if they turn this around, they can be remembered as heroes in New York. If they win a World Series, all this stuff goes away, right?
We're trying to get them to do that. We are absolutely trying to allow them to be the heroes. They just will not allow themselves
Cashman,
to be.
If Cashman just steps up, like I honestly don't think. I think the thing that's really hurting, because Boone is not this bad of a manager for them to lose this many games. He's just not. I don't care how you feel about him. Like when you don't have a bullpen, I do think Cashman with two moves, and I'm not just saying like anybody. Oh, just get two arms. Gary used to laugh at that even before we did this show. People would be like, I need a bat. I need an arm.
Quintana,
do they have to be good?
It's Quintana, and I can't really think of who the bat would be. We'll kick the tires on Jock Peterson. And
I know.
Who is it?
Randall Grichuk. He is literally the guy every time. If you need a bat, it's just him.
Right.
That's it.
And then the other teams will get a Tommy Pham and be like, this is our bat.
Yes.
And then Tommy Pham will perform. So, yeah. And Tim with the 5. Tim, thank you for sitting up there and burning on the screen. We really appreciate the 5, though. Thank you for supporting Yankees Unloaded. He says the Yankees should call up Spencer Jones while Judge is down. And I have a little report here off to my side while that was burning into the screen. He says they can't play Stanton in the outfield. It is time. He's mashing in AAA. Let's see what Jones can do. Now, the Yankees are in a win-now situation. they're going to rely on veteran players that we know for certain what they're going to give us. And that's the Yankees' choice of what they're doing. Now, whether or not you agree with it, I'm just telling you what they're doing. Now, I have a report here where Spencer Jones, and this is a report from Andy Martino, says Spencer Jones won't be called up with Aaron Judge on the IL. So you can take, obviously, if you believe that report or not, that's absolutely on you. I'm not telling anybody if you should believe this report, but based on the report, we know at least 5 or 6 days after the deadline's over, Spencer Jones won't be here. Currently dealing with back spasms. Obviously, Jack Curry of Yes Network covered that and said the Yankees aren't comfortable calling up a player who's injured as his debut into Major League Baseball. We're not going to call up a player in case of an emergency, which is what this would be. They're not going to risk stunning his growth. Now, mind you, I mean, we're not going to stun his growth to that degree, but you get the point. The Yankees want to essentially tee up the perfect time to call up this player. So it doesn't look like, Tim, we're getting that. And it is true that he is hurt. This is not a matter of the deadline. Spencer Jones has sat for multiple days in a row at this point.
All right. 2 things. One, the whole, oh my God, we have to make it a freaking festival anytime somebody makes their debut. Like,
you want the press release?
It's like God should come down from the heavens and
they should do bobblehead day. Spencer Jones bobblehead day for his debut. It's so Yankees. It's unbelievable.
Just have like a harp playing, like you just have.
But I do agree with the overall mindset. I wouldn't
was
call up Spencer Jones right now. Now one's hurt.
I do agree because of the injury, and that is why I'll defend the Yankees here. Okay. They would have called him up if he didn't get hurt. I have no doubt about it. You can't, first off, look at the trade piece you have here, okay? You can't mess around with that now. Because if he were to get hurt in the big leagues, like he goes on the IL, now you're not trading him. Now you can't trade him. And I'm not saying I want to trade him, but I'm saying right now the Yankees don't have to make a decision whether they're trading him or not because the deadline's not here yet, right? If he were to go down and he's out for the year, has to get some back surgery, no value.
You know what I probably do? I probably here's what I do if I'm the New York Yankees. So, Tim, I'm not just going to say what they're not going to do. I'm going to say what we'll do. If Spencer Jones is currently dealing with back spasms, mind you, he's going to be back on the field before Aaron Judge is back on the field. That just tends to be back spasm, elbow injury, right? Spencer Jones is going to be back out there at AAA, and he's going to be raking. I allow him to show back up to AAA and show me that he's healthy. The second he shows me he's healthy and Aaron Judge comes off the IL, because this is the report, I am looking, potentially, to move Trent Grisham. There are plenty of teams out there on the market who need an outfielder. We need relievers. And just because you didn't get top of the market for Trent Grisham, you can still get something on the market of value to help our bullpen. And now, having made that trade and gotten some value in the meantime, Spencer Jones now has a clear path to show up and play center field. And they've told me how good the glove is. That's the one part of their game they said is going to transfer. And that's the most important part of Trent Grisham's game, is his glove to this team. So I'm looking at this player. I completely agree with Tim. If he's healthy, I believe he's performed well enough to play on this team and actually help us win. So I'm excited to see what Spencer Jones can do. It looks like, based on this injury, it's highly unlikely he's dealt, but I guess we've seen crazier things. I'm going to assume he's on this roster.
Yeah, it's weird. It's working out exactly how I expected. I think Spencer Jones is going to be a September call-up. That's what I think. I think we might even see Pereira beforehand, but here's the thing about Pereira, okay? I think he's getting traded. So it's like, what's the point of calling him up if he's going to get traded? Maybe they try and they try to juice any sort of... But see, that's
you're using one of his options as well. I don't know how many options he has left, but
that's true.
But why would I call up a player and be like, "Hey, let me trade him to you," and now he's got one option left? It's like, you're just not gonna. I know you said Pereira is the most likely to come up on this team, and that makes sense. But if you plan on trading him, calling him up is a problem at the last second.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. So that's part of the reason why.
Unless you're trying to play chess, not checkers, and you're like, we really value him, so we're calling him up to the big leagues, trying to assume everyone else is dumb.
Yeah, Brian Cashman is playing chess.
Can you imagine that?
Thank
you, Tim. That would be funny. If they were like, we're going to call him up to try and boost his value by not even playing him, just showing, see, he's a major league player.
That, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me, you ever play like Connect 4 with somebody and then you can clearly see them just eyeball a certain move that's going to potentially win them the game, and they BS you with some move across the board, like thinking you're stupid. It's not going to work. These are professional general managers. Now, mind you, some of them you'd be very confused as to how they were hired, and we're not going to name any names, but you guys get the point. You're not going to fool these guys because
the Suarez
you called up Pereira.
Can you imagine that? Be like, oh, they want major leaguers, so you just call up Pereira. There's a major leaguer.
Right. You're not going to fool anybody. Like Cam Schlittler is a perfect example. You can fool somebody, or you can actually create value. If you gave him enough time at the big league level, he can make 3 or 4 starts, pitch well overall, show you ace-like quality. Now you can turn around and say, see what this guy can do? I can sell high on this player.
Yes.
That would make sense. But you're not going to call Pereira and be like, see, we put him out there in the outfield in Jerry Harrison Jr.'s role. He's catching fly balls in the 7th inning. See how valuable he can be to you? No, they don't. And Ed W with the 20, Ed the GOAT, welcome back, says, if we manage a playoff berth, we should find a series to forfeit and go to a 3-day fundamentals camp. It's not just fielding errors. We keep light scoring opportunities on fire today. The Dominguez base running gaff and Belly's slide. Cody Bellinger's slide today. Cody's my favorite player on the team by far. There's not even a close second.
What the hell?
There's not a close second. It was a horrible slide. It was not a good baseball slide. Usually, and I won't criticize him, at any level where it's a problem, because he's the most fundamental player on the team. He's the guy I trust in really any situation. And so, yeah, bad slide, no question about it. Ed's tired of watching it. Jake, what'd you think about the fundamentals today? What'd you say?
I thought they were better. Really, the slide, the Dominguez, I don't know how Dominguez doesn't score, but he scored anyway at the end of the day, so it is what it is. But yeah, it was, those two were frustrating. I will give all the credit in the world. First off, the throw was incredible from center field.
How about the tag?
The tag, well, I was going to say, the tag was just, you just got to give credit where credit's due. It's an incredible throw by Rojas, okay? Because, yeah, it was an incredible throw by Rojas. And then it's an incredible tag by Real Muto, who
it was the same situation, Jake. Incredible throw by Ronald Acuna Jr. People said it was the best throw they have ever seen. But what was on the tail end of that play? Your B-Boss not knowing to slide.
Yep.
It was great and awful on both sides.
The tag's
I think we can all agree.
Though.
The tag's incredible.
Also, bro, Real Muto just gained so much respect from me. I always knew he was a great player, no doubt about it. The Yankees were interested at one point. Another guy that came from the Marlins. They're the #1 marketing team in the world. But the thing about Real Muto is he's wearing this heavy catcher's gear. And I understand they've made it lighter weight over the years. It's still gear. You still feel it. It's not like just, walking around without, you feel it. Did you see his vertical? What the hell was that? He was way up in the air.
Well, JT Realmuto's, he's not the old school build of a catcher. You're used to seeing some bulky guy who can deal with the brunt force of having foul ball after foul ball hit off of him. And you have to deal with that. That's really the main job you have, is catching the game, and then hitting is a bonus, right?
Yeah.
And people really forget that. They forget that when it comes to Ben Rice. Ben Rice moving to catcher, there is a wear and tear that he's going to deal with. And JT Realmuto deals with it every day. So, credit to him. It was an incredible tag, like you mentioned. A ton of athleticism. Yeah. I wanted to bring up something, though, that I heard on the broadcast, and then we'll probably tee up tomorrow's game if there is one. I'm assuming there is. But I guess the deal is Anthony Volpe with the jumping lead. I was curious. We haven't really talked about this, but they were talking about it on the broadcast and discussing whether or not opposing teams were starting to catch on. Girardi mentioned holding the ball as being a major deterrent towards making that jumping lead. The majority of Major League Baseball doesn't use it. The majority of great base stealers in this sport don't run the bases that way. Some person told me on Twitter, they're like, the Yankees teach that. I don't watch other Yankees doing that. Personally, I don't see it. He's the only one with
the jump lead.
Right. So I was curious, what do you think about that? I'm under the impression that Anthony Volpe probably should just go back to a traditional lead off of first base? Because so far the results from first base, they're just not working.
I was thinking about it because Volpe is faster than maybe we gave him credit for initially, because, I mean, the sprint speed is starting to show up on Savant. I think the jump lead is actually throwing him off. I don't think he's getting the advantage he thinks. I don't. But, I think the thing that's really frustrating is the other day where he got back in time, and you remember that, right? I think it was yesterday. He got back in time, but bro, when you do that jump lead, if I throw over to first, you're pretty much dead in the water.
You could do it at second base. You see that all the time. A guy will just get a monstrous jump. It's a different play. You're usually getting an inside move, but at first base, it's milliseconds, the difference. You're not going to get some running start off of first base. Can it happen every now and again? Absolutely. We watch Albert Pujols, one of the slowest baseball players, especially after his plantar fasciitis. He could barely move. He was running like he had glass in his foot, right?
Yeah.
And all the while, Albert Pujols every year would try and find ways to get from first to second base, and he could do it by getting monstrous leads where nobody was looking at him. But Anthony Volpe is jumping around like a banshee. That's not working.
No, and again, lefties can see it from Travie Trav, so appreciate that. Lefties can see it. But that's also why are you doing it? See, I actually think it could be used as a weapon to kind of deceive if you knew when to use it and when not to use it. If you're doing it all the time, it's like the same thing as if you're doing the same motion every time, you throw a splitter, but then your arm angle's completely different when you throw a four-seam fastball. It's like, well, now everyone knows every time you throw a splitter, you have that arm angle or whatever. So now when a guy's on second, he'll be able to just, relay, and there you go, you get your pitch tipped. It's like, it's really no different than that. Volpe has totally tipped his idea of what was initially, he was doing it as an advantage, because he's not just jumping around just because, oh, this is fun. No,
seems like it.
It does feel like that, but it's for the advantage. And now he's done it so much and at the wrong times where now it's not an advantage anymore. That's just the reality of it. So, yeah, it's like tipping your pitches. I got to highlight this one. Don't give Volpe any weapons.
But anyway. It also creates a lot of volatility, because when they say he was caught stealing, I'm glad they put it on there as a caught stealing when you get picked off. I'm glad that number's there, because you cannot get picked off, especially when Alex Rodriguez comes out and says Anthony Volpe's not a power hitter, right? That's exactly what he said. He should be a guy who's 270, 280, plays good defense, hits at the bottom of the lineup, and he can give you a ton of value. Well, if you're going to hit 280, you'd like to believe, okay, he's got the legs. Savant agrees, right? That number is starting to push up. Well, if you've got speed and you can use those legs, why would you be using a fundamental that's just not working for you? Use a fundamental that works for you. Make adjustments. You can show up and jump around like a hyena, but if you find out that guys are picking you off long term, why don't you just take that on the chin and say, okay, I tried that. Let me try the old school way. And then maybe the old school way is the old school way for a reason, perhaps that. And I think Anthony Volpe, again, is going to be a good player in this league, but it's just taking him too long to make adjustments. And we saw earlier, one of our super chats was that 2026 is going to be the year, but I think that's on the timeline of when another player would make an adjustment. We're just not sure how long this takes for him to make some of these obvious adjustments, and I'm really rooting for this kid, but I do see that Ronnie is living a much better life than us with the $5 super chat. He says, nothing like sipping a glass of Cabernet and enjoying Yankees Unloaded after a rare victory.
Hell yeah, Ronnie.
Keep up the good work, fellas. Ronnie, thank you for supporting the podcast, as always. Yeah, I don't know, Jake. I don't know how you feel. I know before we went live, we want trades. We want big trades. You're hopeful that a big trade happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we would love to go live again if there is a big trade, and we will. If there's a monstrous trade, just know you can stare at YouTube, and you're probably going to see the boys at Yankees Unloaded grinding here again. So, I will say, I'm not as hopeful as you are. That's my final conclusion about top of the market relievers. I do think Brian Cashman is going to try and win trades, and it'll probably fall into the category of, oh yeah, this guy definitely helps, right? Just like Ryan McMahon. He absolutely helps in comparison to who was there before. And we're just going to find out if it's enough. And if it's not, I don't think anyone's in jeopardy of losing a job per se by missing the playoffs, as much as people have told me that. And so we're just going to see where it goes. And if I'm surprised, I'm going to hop on this podcast and say, oh, Duran? Oh, yeah, I was wrong. And we'll cover it. So
and I'll just be like,
yeah, Jake, you can flex. You can flex if that happens, but I guess they haven't really been aggressive over the years, and that's where I'm essentially calling that. I'm basically calling their bluff when they say how aggressive they're going to be.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. So I think that's it. So the last super chat, we've been live for over an hour and a half. I got plans to finally watch the Mission Impossible, the newest one, Dead Reckoning, the last one, the finale.
He's probably going to make it with 2 seconds left on the clock. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He's going to defuse the bomb with 2 seconds left.
Oh, yeah. I was like, Cashman? Like, dude, my brain just was like...
We've got a new problem and we just can't solve it. It's even more sophisticated than last time. Oh, Tom Cruise figures it out. It's every time. But yeah. It's a great movie. I haven't seen maybe 2 years of them.
Did you see Fallout? Though? That's my favorite.
I don't know if I saw Fallout. Maybe.
Fallout was my favorite. They're really... Yeah. I like all of them. They're the one... Was it Ghost? I can't remember. The one where they're in Dubai, where they can't see anything. It's like all just the sandstorm. That one was crazy. The thing about Tom Cruise, he does all his own stunts, so I gotta give him a lot of credit. But
dude's like 60 doing his own stunts. It's
insane. And
they should put Tom Cruise in a movie to represent Anthony Volpe, and he's just jumping around doing his own stunts. They should have Tom Cruise play Anthony Volpe. When he wins a World Series as a Yankee, he's the shortstop. He was doubted. And if we win, Tom Cruise.
Your mom kills me, dude. I'm sorry. It's hilarious.
Yeah, my mom's a huge fan of Comic-Con because obviously she's in the San Diego area, and it's just geek galore over there.
I'm like geek, but not to the level of me. I wouldn't do the cosplay. I'm not into that. But no judgment. I mean, if people are in that, that's cool. Whatever makes you happy. Again, Cam Schlittler's on the hill at Yankee Stadium against Drew Rasmussen. How do we see this game going tomorrow, Gary?
Well, last time Cam got on the mound, that was in the Toronto series. Yes. That was a big series. And mind you, that was a ton of pressure that we mentioned. And part of the reason why I didn't think Cam was going to live up to the bill is that putting pressure on a young player, especially when he doesn't have the necessary time to deal with that pressure. We mentioned Will Warren. He got on the mound at Dodger Stadium, and Garrett Cole's like, hey, you need to prepare for it's a different beast, right? It didn't feel like he was prepared or ready for that start. And then I projected that onto Cam Schlittler, and he lived up to the bill. I'm going to put some confidence into Cam Schlittler for tomorrow's start. I just am. Now, mind you, I am a little concerned about our offense and scoring tomorrow, just as I was today with Zach Wheeler on the mound. But as your dad said, I'm not out here for you to hit 3-run home runs. I'm out here when there's a man at second base and we have opportunity, and there will be opportunity tomorrow. There will be. Whether we have a walk, a pass ball, when you get to second base less than 2 outs, we have got to. We're 5.5 games back in the division. You have to make productive outs. You have to drive in runners from third base less than 2 outs. With no Aaron Judge, the days of winning sexy are over. It's time to play old school baseball. It's time to play who can score more with the runner in scoring position baseball. That's how we're going to win. We're going to win by scrapping together. I know it's crazy to say, hits with runners in scoring position, batting average with runners in scoring position. The hit today from Ryan McMahon, bases loaded.
Huge.
We don't win the game without it. We didn't hit a homer, not one home run today. I know a few people in our comments have mentioned this. The Yankees are going to have to go out feeling undermanned and just outwork and outplay this team. So there are no excuses. The position that we're in, the Yankees have to go out and execute. And we're going to see tomorrow just how ready they are.
We are definitely going to see tomorrow. I think they win. Right now, Tampa is a mess. They're 3-7 in the last 10. They have not looked good, and they're not a great road team. So I'm going to take the Yankees in this one. This could be Cam's last start as a Yankee, but this could also be the start that kind of shows the Yankees, oh, maybe we have to move on from Will Warren. Like, that's my thing. Cam Schlittler is playing for his Yankee life right now. That's what he's pitching for. So it's not just bullpen. He could be traded. And the Yankees could also be like, hey, that'll get us Duran. So
I genuinely have no idea what Cam Schlittler, I have no idea which organization he pitches for in 4 years. He's the type of guy who can be someone's ace in 3 or 4 years. In 2 years, it can happen. And mind you, it's not likely. It's not likely for a player to become a sustainable ace. But as far as 98 to 100 miles an hour, the slider needs some work. There's no questions asked. Garrett Cole's slider needed work when he first got to the big leagues. It was a loopy breaking ball. He's not Garrett Cole, but there are a lot of players who are considered aces who never are going to be Garrett Cole. So, yeah, Cam Schlittler might pitch himself. He might pitch well enough to be thrown into a package as a top prospect, someone of value, or he might pitch poorly and be thrown into the bullpen or even sent down to the minor league. So I'm sure he's weighing all this while he sits at his locker before the game tomorrow, but it's the business, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, guys, you see it on the screen a lot of times. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We know most of you have already subscribed, obviously. You guys are here every single night. Another 500-plus viewer show. Late stream. We know the game happened earlier, and we appreciate you guys sticking out with us, hanging out with us. Be sure to hit the button, the like button, the thumbs up button, whatever you want to call it. That is what we got to get people doing. Because if we could get every single person who enjoyed it that was live, they all hit the thumbs up button, Lord knows where we would be. Because
it is wild that people will listen to 2 hours of a podcast and be like, yeah, I really like that. I really like that show of just how it went.
Yeah.
And they'll just exit out and then show up the next day and not like the video. It helps us out a ton. And like we said, it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't need anybody to like a video in order for it to be pushed to the next person, but that's how YouTube works it out.
I think it's more crazy that YouTube's like, oh, you watched 2 hours of that live stream at 3 a.m., but you didn't like the video, so you definitely hated it. We're definitely not going to recommend that shit. Like
I can't understand
the rationale. I don't know.
Yeah, man. We wish it wasn't this way. It's silly, but it does help us out. So thank you guys again for being here. And again, make sure you guys go watch that video that we did in our interview with Jim Bowden. And of course, tomorrow morning, bright and early, Jabba Chamberlain, that will be releasing. So if you put notifications on, you shouldn't have a problem with that. I know obviously you have to go into the iPhone settings and make it all work. But yeah, Jim Bowden is up there. It's live. You guys have been incredible so far on that video. Make sure to watch Jabba. And of course, he's got his own podcast. So towards the end of that episode, he does plug it. So thank you guys again. And of course, Jake, any comments?
Oh, yeah. Let's just drop Tom Cruise. That's good enough.
And like the video.